Welcome to the NitWits, a weekly roundtable discussion on the Penn State Nittany Lions, now in its 22nd season. Our panel features a longtime Penn State media and NitWits tag team, Neil Rudell of the Altoona Mirror and Mark Brennan of Lions 247 with Fight on State. The NitWits are hosted by WTAJ Sports Director Peter Terpstra, and each week we welcome a former Nittany Lion as our special guest analyst. The NitWits are brought to you by Irwin Financial, Raymond James, a firm foundation for your financial future. By Coldwell Banker Town & Country Real Estate, Blair County's home-a-day realtor. By Courtesy Motor Sales of Altoona, where courtesy means a great deal. By Encompass Health, a higher level of care. Encompass Healthcare. Ask for us by name. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your dry cleaning, carpet cleaning, and rug cleaning. By Reed and Solani Orthodontics, providing friendly, family-focused orthodontic care in Altoona, Bedford, and Huntington. By Allegheny Street Cigar, Allegheny Street Cigar, Blair County's only cigar lounge. By McAlear's Plumbing, specializing in plumbing, heating, and air conditioning, serving our community since 1886. By Freedom RV, get ready to tailgate this Penn State football season with Freedom RV Rentals. By Jethro's, serving ribs, steaks, Italian specialties, and the famous Prospector salad since 1983. Takeouts, delivery, and catering. By Lucky's Beer Distributor. Let Lucky's Beer get you ready for PSU game day. By Remax Results Realty Group, committed to a culture of professionalism, productivity, and exceptional service. By Dorman's Jewelry, the answer is always Dorman's. Fullington Trailways, offering round-trip transportation to and from Beaver Stadium from a variety of locations in State College and hotels in the Altoona area. Gio's Barbecue, award-winning hickory smoked ribs, chicken, and much more. By Star Beverage. No matter what type of weather, we are a convenient drive-through one-stop beer store. By Lions 247 with Fight on State, your online home for Penn State football and recruiting coverage. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State Game Day every Friday and Penn State Extra every Sunday.
Welcome to Nittany Nation Overtime.
Hey, hi, hello. Welcome to Nittany Nation Overtime. We are the Nitwits. Of course, we have Neil, we have Mark, and our special guest tonight, Bill Kontz, who's an offensive tackle on the first Penn State National Championship team in 1982. Played in the NFL, and you have a book out called When the Lions Roared.
Hey, guys, thanks for inviting me back. Great to be here.
Also, best hair on the show so far, I got to say.
Well, hair. I understand hair has been a sensitive subject recently, and I hope I just hope the station doesn't get any calls for letters from people from Johnstown. But I do my part to try to make sure that I'm current with the vibe that's going on with Penn State football. So thanks for having me, though.
Good to see you. Problem.
Yeah, absolutely. Glad to be here.
Penn State undefeated, 7-0 on the year. Just came off a 28-21 win. Whiteout game. Beaver Stadium was rocking against Michigan. What was your first thoughts, Mark?
You know, it's a classic game where Penn State fans, I think, have become a little bit spoiled over the last couple of years. Penn State races out to a 21-0 lead, ends up holding on to win 28-21. And on our message boards, at least, a lot of people were really angry about that victory. And you're thinking, wow, here's a win over a nationally ranked Michigan team that Penn State has had some issues with. I think any win over Michigan's a good win. Having said all that, listen, the scary thing I think for opponents is that this team still has room to grow, still has areas where it could get better, and I think still has areas where the coaching staff could get dialed in, especially on offense. So overall, I don't think you could sneeze at what's a good win over a ranked team, but there is room for growth moving forward.
Yeah, I thought they got tremendous energy from the crowd. Penn State has really perfected the whole whiteout. It was nice to see Guido D'Elia get some national run as being sort of the creator of it, burst out there. I think Michigan did out-scheme Penn State in terms of adjustments as the game went on, both sides of the ball. But hey, everybody's on scholarship here. And, I think to just expect Michigan, sometimes this series has gotten out of hand both ways. You've been routes. I think this is what we've really should be coming to expect in this series. I thought the way Michigan responded was very impressive, and then Penn State answering to go back up 2 scores when they had to. I think it was also a real good win.
Yeah. Had you told me that we would have been limited to 285 yards total offense, lost a significant time of possession battle, I think 37 minutes to 22, right? Had 1 sack, I believe, against 41 pass attempts and let the opposing quarterback throw for 285 yards and still walk away with a victory over a ranked opponent, a ranked conference opponent. I'd take that every day of the week. So, fans do have a tendency to kind of, put the cart before the horses. This is still a team that's improving, a team that still hasn't played a complete game of football. So a win against a team like Michigan, a ranked opponent, we're still 7-0. I'll take that all the time.
Yeah, well, one of the things when grading this game, the way that we do, we kind of do offense, defense, special teams, but an overall grade. And to me, this was one of those games where the overall grade, I gave it a B+ because I think it's a good win, doesn't necessarily reflect what the individual grades are along the way. Maybe the offense wasn't great. Maybe the defense didn't get the pass rush that it needed to. Maybe there were some issues on special teams. But end of the day, they found a way to win. And what has been the biggest criticism of this coaching staff the last couple years? It's that it couldn't play with leads and it couldn't hold on to leads, especially last year. And now they're finding ways to do that. It may not be pretty, but again, step in the right direction in the growth of this program.
And I think one of the things that brought that grade up is grading the atmosphere. Because the atmosphere was off the chart and really helped get them kick-started and really took Michigan a while. Michigan had to call timeout on the very first play.
Never saw it
Franklin
before.
loved it. Franklin was going bananas. He was.
But they also had some other line of scrimmage issues. False start, 3 offsides. This is early while Penn State was building their lead. So a big shout out to the crowd because I think that kind of compensated for maybe the secondary play and some of the other things that may not be a B+.
They might not have had a lot of time of possession on the offensive side, but they did have explosive plays, and they were throwing the ball down the field. A lot of the highlights were, speed plays by the wide receivers, getting it out, getting it downfield. KJ Hamler, huge weapon. And imagine if the kick return hadn't been called back on a penalty. He would have had an even bigger day. And they're putting the ball in his hands 10 to 12 times. What they said might be the sweet spot, but I don't think anybody's gonna get mad if he gets it more than that.
No, and to Mark's point earlier, good football teams need opportunities to prove they can respond in the clutch. And I thought they did that at the tail end of that game, having to stop a Michigan team that clearly had the momentum, and they're driving. They force the 4th down play. The guy drops the ball, but that happens, and good teams do that. And to make a crucial 1st down to salt the game away, I think is a mark of a team. Even though it was incomplete football, we play a great half here and not so good another half. But the crowd was electric. It was a fabulous environment. People were on the edge of their seat wanting to make Michigan, making it a miserable time for Michigan the whole night long.
Ronnie is a lightning rod at times, but I think all offensive coordinators are in this age of social media. There were some times that in the second half when they had some plays that didn't work, but hey, I thought he had a pretty good game when you consider he recognized some matchups. You got that one, the matchup with Freiermuth, with Hamler twice. You get the ball to your best player with the game on the line, and they put the game away. 28 points should be enough to beat Michigan.
Yeah, I would also, the one thing I would say about what we're seeing from Ricky Ronnie is I would really love to see them establish the running game earlier in the game. Clearly, they know what they're going to get from a guy like Noah Cain in a clutch situation because we've seen it the last couple of weeks. When they've needed to grind out yards late in the game, whether it was Iowa or whether it was against Michigan, they hand him the ball twice, set up a 3rd and short, and that's the one area where I just think sometimes they get too cute on offense. You're ending up in these 3rd and 7s, 3rd and 8s, and it's putting them kind of behind the 8 ball. And I would just love to see them establish that running game and then work the passing game off of that. There's no doubt that Hamler and Freiermuth are outstanding weapons, but I think that running game, especially with the way this line blocks, and you could speak to this, Bill, this looks like a line that's comfortable that smash mouth type blocking, not the stuff to the edges. When they're running it up the gut, that seems to be what's working for them.
You have probably assembled your best offensive line at Penn State in the Franklin era here. Let's take advantage of that. These are a veteran group of guys getting better every week. In my opinion, they ought to scrap the run-pass option thing. Clifford is establishing himself as a classic drop-back passer who throws a very good, very accurate deep ball. So play to that strength. We've got strong running backs that can run traditional football rather than make Clifford the ball carrier option. I get the fact that it's effective there, but in my opinion, play to these guys' talents and strengths.
You just took the heat off of Neil for...
Hey, we'll get more onto that.
Bring back a fullback, go under center. Bill Collins is calling for another open date.
I water it down.
Scrap the offense.
Coming up next on Nittany Nation Overtime. Penn State started off strong in the first half. Michigan had that comeback. We'll take a look at what happened there next.
The Nitwits are brought to you by Irwin Financial, Raymond James, a firm foundation for your financial future. By Coldwell Banker Town & Country Real Estate, Blair County's home-a-day realtor. By Courtesy Motor Sales of Altoona, where courtesy means a great deal. By Encompass Health, a higher level of care. Encompass Healthcare. Ask for us by name. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your dry cleaning, carpet cleaning, and rug cleaning. By Reed and Solaney Orthodontics, providing friendly, family-focused orthodontic care in Altoona, Bedford, and Huntington.
You're watching Nittany Nation Overtime.
Welcome back to the show. Of course, Penn State took down Michigan 28-21, but there was a point where they jumped out to a 21-0 lead. I call that a 21 skunk. Right? If you were jumping and playing a video game, you lose. If you get down by 21. Bad joke, whatever, but at that point...
What the heck does that even mean?
It's just 21 skunk. No one else has heard that? Anyways, all right, so you get up 21-0, 21-7 at halftime. Do you think that might be a moment where Michigan got some momentum before you went to the break?
Well, I think where the momentum was lost was in the second quarter. Michigan came back and scored. Penn State had a chance to at least get a field goal late in the first half because I thought Michigan made a strange decision to go for a real long field goal, and then Penn State gets the ball at the 40 with 3 timeouts, and James admitted it afterwards. He didn't handle it well. They should have called an immediate timeout after the pass to Freiermuth. 7 yards, 2nd and 3, about midfield, had time. They let the clock go too long. Then they ended up calling it on 4th and 1. It just didn't work out. But I thought some momentum was lost going into halftime.
I think you have to give Michigan credit, too, for not panicking.
Yeah.
That's an easy situation. And you know what? Josh Gaddis, his first year as coordinator there, former Penn State assistant, he stayed committed to running and passing the ball, to keeping a balance there. You know, even though they were running that read option a lot that you love, Bill. So I do think you have to give them credit, but I also think this is a sign of a young team. And this is still a young team. I'm not saying in the course of this season. These guys have all played a lot of football, but this is a lesson you have to learn. When you get up 21 points, whatever we're talking about coaching-wise or whatever, to me, it's also on the players to get after it and to put the your foot on the throat of your opponent. So I think that killer instinct. We've seen it in a couple games this year, but we've not seen it in some other games, and I think it's important for them to develop that.
Their tackling wasn't the greatest last night. They missed a couple big tackles in the open field that set the stage. I think their secondary, just some issues, identified themselves. And I agree. I think Michigan played more like the Michigan we were expecting earlier in the year. And I'll be curious what they are going forward. They got Notre Dame this week. They're going to have some big opportunities left. So I just thought that Michigan really showed the kind of team that maybe we thought they're going to be.
Yeah, and when you get a team down 21-0, a whiteout, everything in your favor, you can't let that team get up off the mat. I thought the offense got a bit conservative in that second quarter, did some things there that were unsuccessful. Michigan started to a long drive that resulted in the first touchdown to go 21-7.5. It was clear at that point there was one team that was working to make some solid adjustments at halftime, and clearly Penn State wasn't that team. They came out flat, 6 punts in the third quarter, so that momentum that was there quickly evaporated. That crowd's sitting there, when's the next time do we get to cheer? And took them a while.
Well, I also thought the fact that KJ Hamler opens up the second half by bringing that kickoff back, the place was absolutely rocking. I mean, up in the press box, you could feel it going. And I know you guys were down on the field. I'm sure you could sense it. And when that was called back, that was the one time in that game where you really felt things in the whole stadium kind of deflated. I think if that stands, and I'm not saying necessarily it should have. I didn't get a good look at the replay of that
Two
yet.
holds on it.
Yeah, so if there are 2 holds, one of them was bound to be good.
One was the kicker that they held.
Yeah, so if that stands, I think that game's over. But guess what? It didn't, and give Michigan credit for not, kind of just folding and getting after it.
I thought Shea Patterson looked pretty good for Michigan, and I thought the Michigan offense, I mean, when I just think of like classic Michigan offense, I'm thinking of a bunch of tight ends under center. You're pounding the rock forward. They've evolved.
They're following a pattern where teams are having success against this defense with a quick, short passing game, getting their receivers out in the open field. We're missing some tackles. I think they're getting away from the strength of the Penn State defense, which is the front seven, an athletic group. If you get rid of the ball quickly, it's kind of tough to get those guys establishing those sacks. But clearly with what transpired yesterday, overall, it's a win it's a second straight win against a ranked opponent. It's a second straight game with no turnovers. We've got a lot of positives to take out. There's still some things to work on. I think Franklin readily spoke to that in the post-game press conference.
The other thing is when you want to be a big play offense and you don't, and they just missed a couple more big plays, not just the kickoff return. They missed Fryermuth, just missed Dodson a couple times. But hey, you ran 54 plays, Penn State did. Michigan runs 82. They're keeping – Michigan's smart. They kept Penn State's offense off the field. That's what you want to do when you know a team is trying to rely on big plays. And
that's why I'm saying you can't hang your hat completely on big plays. And Bill, in 82, you guys were the perfect example. You had a great balance of running and passing. Even though you passed for a little bit more, I think it was, you knew that when you had to run the ball, you could run the ball. And in this game against Michigan, Penn State got to the point where Michigan wasn't really fearing the run. They were kind of selling out against your great receivers, and that's what ends up happening.
And I think all of this kind of points toward, we're all thinking kind of how good this Penn State team can be, right? So coming up next, things are looking better for Penn State. 7-0, still some issues to work out. We'll talk about what's going ahead next.
The Nitwits are being brought to you by Allegheny Street Cigar. Allegheny Street Cigar, Blair County's only cigar lounge. By McAleer's Plumbing, specializing in plumbing, heating, and air conditioning, serving our community since 1886. By Freedom RV. Get ready to tailgate this Penn State football season with Freedom RV Rentals. By Jethro's, serving ribs, steaks, Italian specialties, and the famous Prospector salad since 1983. Takeouts, delivery, and catering. By Lucky's Beer Distributor. Let Lucky's Beer get you ready for PSU game day. By Remax Results Realty Group. Committed to a culture of professionalism, productivity, and exceptional service.
You're watching Nittany Nation Overtime.
Welcome back to Nittany Nation Overtime. 7-0. I know we've talked about, staying on schedule. A lot of us picked 8-4, 9-3. Is this where you think the team, you expect them to be here? What do they have to kind of fix going forward?
I think it's developing that they're kind of a year ahead of schedule right now. I think that it's exceeded our expectations. Most people saw at least the one loss by now, whether it was at Iowa, whether it was against Michigan. Certainly nobody expected a 59-0 at Maryland. So I think they're putting themselves in a position to play for something, whether it's a huge game at Ohio State. And that's if they can take care of a couple big road games that they're going to have. Every win they have, the next one gets bigger. So I think they're a little ahead of schedule, kind of like the '85 team to me in a way. But it's been a fun ride so far.
Yeah, I think, the thing to me that really jumps out about this team is that Sean Clifford has done a really good job so far. but there are so many places where he can get even better. He's on a record-setting pace now, but if he gets a little bit more dialed in on those deep balls, if he makes some quicker decisions, if he doesn't miss fryer moves, and I'm not nitpicking here, I'm saying this in the sense that I think this kid has a chance to be an elite quarterback.
Yeah.
He's still only 7 games into his tenure as a starter, and I think if you're an opponent in the Big Ten and you're looking at what this kid's doing now and the weapons he has around him, I think the ceiling is very high, and I look for him to keep getting better and better and better as the season goes along. The key with Clifford so far, the thing he has in common with Trace McSorley is he is putting them in position to win every game, and that there's no better quality from a quarterback. Everything else could come around.
Yeah, and you mentioned weapons. KJ Hamler, that was a coming out party. If folks don't recognize his talent and what he can do, I don't expect him to draw single coverage for the remainder of the year, and that will open up opportunities for other wide receivers. Let's hope folks step up. I think that, to your point about a young team, I think that's probably why we're not seeing a complete 4 quarters out of them. And we face a Michigan State team that's had a week off to prepare for us in what has been a house of horrors with them going up to East Lansing. So I expected them to have a road loss, a 6-1 record, but 7-0 I'm very satisfied with. I hope they continue to show improvement, and this becomes a positive learning experience for what they had to encounter yesterday.
I think that I've had a lot of folks ask me how good are they going to be this year before the season. And I would say, hey, I think they're going to be good, but just wait until the following year because you got a lot of these guys coming back. So I think what they've done so far, hey, nothing but thumbs up for that. But now, you don't want to be set up for a letdown. And we will get to that coming up soon. We're going to keep this one short so we can talk about more coming up. Whiteout week is over. Nittany Lions take a trip to East Lansing to take on the Spartans. Prediction time next.
The NitWits are being brought to you by Dorman's Jewelry. The answer is always Dorman's. Fullington Trailways, offering round-trip transportation to and from Beaver Stadium from a variety of locations in State College and hotels in the Altoona area. Gio's Barbecue, award-winning hickory smoked ribs, chicken, and much more. By Star Beverage. No matter what type of weather, we are a convenient drive-through one-stop beer store. By Lions 247 with Fight on State, your online home for Penn State football and recruiting coverage. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State Game Day every Friday and Penn State Extra every Sunday.
You're watching Nittany Nation Overtime.
Welcome back. We're going to wrap things up here. And Bill, we wanted to give you some time to talk about your book, When the Lions Roared. What's the premise, and why do you think people should pick it up?
Yeah, and I appreciate the chance to give yet another shameless plug for the third straight years. But the book is I've written about the 1982 national champions at Penn State. I was privileged to be part of that team. I make an argument to see that statistically a rare situation where a team wins a national title going against the nation's toughest schedule. There's some reflections about Joe Paterno in that book from myself, my teammates, Joe's former coaches. You can pick that up at Amazon.com, Triumph Publishing. It's got very, very favorable reviews. I'm very proud, and I think folks will enjoy the read.
All right, let's get to our Nitwit of the Week standings. Mark, you came away with it this time.
I didn't realize.
You have 3. I think the rest of us have 2. We haven't had a guest win yet, so pressure's on for you, Bill. All right, what do you got?
Yeah, quick prediction. Listen, Penn State to me has been the better team against Michigan State athletically and talent-wise the last couple years, but have left the game slip away. In honor of the people at the grocery store that I saw who were ripping Peter for not being here last week after picking Iowa, I think Penn State goes on the road once again and figures out a way to win 21-13.
Okay, I'll go next. I'm going to pick Penn State this week, learn my lesson. At Iowa, I'm going to say Penn State wins comfortably, 34-10.
Okay, that gives me a little room to work here.
Wheels going.
I'm going to say Penn State 27, Michigan State 23.
Wow.
I think it's going to be a close game up there.
They continue to build on a very successful season. They learn what it's like to play ranked opponents both in prime time and at home. They go on the road, tough place to play. I think they exercise a lot of demons. I see Penn State winning 34-24. And they continue to move on.
All right, so we're all picking Penn State this week. That's going to do it for our show here on Nittany Nation Overtime. We've talked, well, yeah, thanks for coming on. Always a lot of fun having you.
It is.
We talked big picture, 7-0. Hopefully the Storms stay away when they go on the road to Michigan State, so we don't have a huge delay. But that's going to do it for our show, folks. We will catch you next week.
The Nitwits are brought to you by Irwin Financial, Raymond James, a firm foundation for your financial future. By Coldwell Banker Town & Country Real Estate, Blair County's home-a-day realtor. By Courtesy Motor Sales of Altoona, where courtesy means a great deal. By Encompass Health, a higher level of care. Encompass Healthcare. Ask for us by name. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your dry cleaning, carpet cleaning, and rug cleaning. By Reed and Salaney Orthodontics, providing friendly, family-focused orthodontic care in Altoona, Bedford, and Huntington. By Allegheny Street Cigar, Allegheny Street Cigar, Blair County's only cigar lounge. By McAleer's Plumbing, specializing in plumbing, heating, and air conditioning, serving our community since 1886. By Freedom RV, get ready to tailgate this Penn State football season with Freedom RV Rentals. By Jethro's, serving ribs, steaks, Italian specialties, and the famous Prospector salad since 1983. Takeouts, delivery, and catering. By Lucky's Beer Distributor. Let Lucky's Beer get you ready for PSU game day. By RE/MAX Results Realty Group, committed to a culture of professionalism, productivity, and exceptional service. By Dorman's Jewelry, the answer is always Dorman's. Fullington Trailways, offering round-trip transportation to and from Beaver Stadium from a variety of locations in State College and hotels in the Altoona area. Gio's Barbecue, award-winning hickory smoked ribs, chicken, and much more. By Star Beverage. No matter what type of weather, we are a convenient drive-through one-stop beer store. By Lions 247 with Fight on State, your online home for Penn State football and recruiting coverage. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State game day every Friday and Penn State Extra every Sunday. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.